Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fan podcast. You idiots, I'm just laughing at these clowns just trying to make faces at me in the background. On this episode of the ET Stand podcast, we are going to work out, stop it, you idiots. We're going to try and work out what a dynasty is and if the Cronulla Sharks can ever build one of their own. We're just not content with one premier. These idiots in the background, I'm going to stop them from pulling faces at me. Let's just bring them in. That is Bulldogs Tears. Chris Kelly, who would you move?
Where do we start? I'm glad Boldo didn't grow up in Egypt times because that's a terrible looking pyramid. It would have fallen over and collapsed by now. And given that he just Googled the squad and put Matt Ikevalu in the bottom and he hasn't been there since half of last year, our pyramid would have fallen over.
He's still on the page.
The pyramid would have fallen over. You would have been missing a foundation piece and it's fallen over.
Maloney is still intercept. Away goes James Maloney. They're kicking him home, the Sharks fans. Maloney is there. Healy. It's Healy and gone on his departure day. Mitch Healy gets a try. The crowd have gone absolutely bereft.
In amongst all of that, Lats had an awesome story about how awesome this Finau guy was, and then Boldo concludes it with like, yeah, Finucane, how good is he? And everyone's like,
I don't even know who Finau is. I just assumed that Finau was the same guy as Finucane. Is that a different person? I didn't know that. Who the hell's Finau?
Wow. This is how flawed the tears are. He doesn't even know how to
Boldo.
This is where the tears bit comes into it.
I'm listening to the card going, did my stream just like skip 30 seconds or something? Like, no, it was just Boldo just playing along. But anyway.
Peachy, great ball to Campbell. He's away. Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading to the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham. They're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game.
Ennis away. Here they are. Pryor. Can he get it there? Yes, he can. Matt Pryor, an unlikely first try scorer for the Sharks.
Interesting enough that the North Bears are getting that desperate. They're talking about having a Pacific Bears team so they can sort of engulf those Pacific nations and sort of get that ball rolling where they think they can sort of, take on the Cook Islands and the Samoans and the Tongas and sort of make it their team. So PNG's to go for me.
I'm pretty convinced after that. All right, Franco, what do you got?
Mate, can I rebuttal that, or am I giving it a different answer?
Go for it. Enough arguments on this podcast. Come on,
you're going to throw out cans, and they're going to play out of cans.
Ever. That is the dumbest idea ever.
Townsend now calling the shots with Johnson off. They will go. Gallen, field goal. Paul Gallen, field goal. That is amazing. That is ridiculous. Away. It's back to Smith. Smith gets it away to Cronk. Cronk's got Korobetti with it. Have they got a chance here? Korobetti's put down. The siren sounds. Cronulla have won it. Cronulla have won it. 14-12. You can turn the light out now.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast. Should Sharks fans be concerned about the season ahead, or is there reason to be optimistic? Welcome to the ET Stand, the Cronulla Sharks fans podcast that seems to have just as many hosts as it does viewers as people come in. We are the podcast that lets us talking to the football. Hit the like and subscribe button if you're watching this. It helps us with the YouTube algorithm. And thanks to everyone who's watched our show so far. It has been a bit overwhelming, actually, how many people have watched it. It's like hundreds of hours of people watching us carry on about the Sharks. So thank you for everyone who has watched and gotten involved. And please do comment during the show, because we like it when people comment and give us a hard time and all that sort of stuff. On this episode, we are going to look forward to the second trial against the Bulldogs with a much stronger Sharks team named. So we're going to go through that team. We're going to look back at that not so good Knights trial match. We've got a history lesson and a bright moment from a more recent Sharks pre-season. Lats is going to give us his social roundup for the week. Matty Williams gives us the first of the hosts' pre-season predictions and what is going to happen as he looks into his crystal ball. And then we're going to put Matthew to the test with a little bit of trivia at the same time. Let's bring in the lads as we do. We're bringing in our dear friends, Franco and Stephen, as we switch to that view. There they are. And then I press this little button and we talk about the Knights trial. And I'm throwing to Mr. Geez, look at your merch tonight, Chris. You're just such a handsome man, aren't you? Chris,
The fans love it, mate.
Well, someone's got to. Chris, what was your key takeaway from the match last weekend?
Yeah, going into it, like we mentioned, the Knights had a much stronger team on paper than we did. So we kind of expected probably the result, maybe not the scoreline. They had a few different changes in their team throughout the match, whereas we sort of did the traditional trial style where you filter in a few first graders and a couple of Reggie's players out there. So we started on fire, quick and early. Nice try to Katoa on the wing, set up by Daniel Atkinson out wide. And then it seemed like the heat kind of got to us. The guys were just falling off tackles, nothing sort of made. It was a bit of a topsy-turvy match. I sort of watched it again today and had a quick little review in the second half. And the Knights put out like Hastings and Tyson Gamble. They put out their hooker out there. They had Jack Cogger, who they got from Penrith last year.
He looked good, didn't he?
Yeah, he looks real good. Great signing by the Knights. They've got one of those sort of healthy problems in their halves and hookers where they're not too sure where everyone's going to play. So their experience kind of went over the top of us, which we kind of expected. We got a nice plucky try out of Peru in the second half, taking a beautiful intercept and setting up Rodwell, which even that was a bit scratchy. He could have just gone towards the corner and threw him inside, and he sort of went, oh, what do I do? And nearly got held up again. So, we didn't even have a recognised goal kicker. Latz's favourite, Hiroti, was out there slotting goals.
I thought he looked good at the goal kicking.
He looked great, but defensively he was quite missing again. Poor old Hazelwood, our fan favourite, got in trouble as well for a shot that, again on review, it is one of those ones where you can't hit the player as you release the ball, but the guy was actually ducking down, facing backwards, and copped the high shot off the 10-foot tall Hazelwood. So luckily he escaped with a fine this week, which I'm sure he'll accept instead of a suspension. And other than that, we go into this week with a much stronger team.
I think we do. Stephen, Franco, the one we're all here for.
Has been confirmed, Kelly.
You talked up Stone Street. What was your takeaway for the youngsters, Franco?
Has been confirmed, Kelly. Yeah, he did take the fine, so all good there. A little bit quiet, to be honest. I think the guys didn't really get as much time with the ball as they would have liked, although they did have some good touches, but I just think across the board, when the whole team doesn't have a lot of ball, it's hard to stand out in that scenario. One of the guys I did talk up was Healy. For the short amount of time he was in the field, he was lightning. He was everywhere. Did have a little quick scoot to the try line, like I said he would. Maybe he shouldn't have done that on tackle 4, but it's all good. I think he's still looking really good. I think he's one to watch out for the future. Obviously, a great name. It'd be great to see him in first grade if he gets an opportunity. I think if you look at that team, the way they were sort of structured, the Knights did have a lot more experience on their side. More importantly, in the spine, in the playmakers, and the hooker role. So they had a lot more direction. They had a lot more structure than we did. Our guys, from 9, 6, 7, and 1, they're all sort of running players. They're not really structure players. So, as far as direction was out there, they played admirably, but probably didn't give the guys what they needed as far as direction and where to go. I think you guys spoke about it on the debrief that we sort of went away from structure when Cam came off. He was probably that leader there, telling people where to run and where to go. And without him, we're a little bit rudderless, and I think that showed. I also think it's funny if you look again at that team and the experience. You talk about the fringies and the good up and comers. You probably got guys with first grade experience, guys who are fringies, and then guys who are sort of the younger kids who are getting just a bit of a taste of faster football up against men, probably still a couple of years away. If you look at us versus them, you'd say they're, and I don't mean anything derogatory by A, B, and C's, but you look at their A team was better than our B team, but I think our C team was better than their B team. When those younger kids came on, they were looking really good. Like Healy, thought Hoskins was really good as well. He had a whole lot of energy, which was really exciting to see. And Atata, was it? Is that his name? He did. He wasn't on very long, but it's sort of like what he saw. I could be influenced a little bit by Dykes talking him up in the preseason, so that could have been it.
What do we make of K Dykes? Have we got a position for him coming out of that match, Chris?
Yeah, unfortunately, he was left like a sitting duck most of the match. A few of the times he had to sort of recover and find, the holes at our middle forwards or over in our markers is where they kind of expose us straight through, where the guys were, again, like I said, towards the end of that first half, was zapped by the heat or the conditions, or like Franco said, even just that experience of a few of their Knights players, probably out of their own system, desperateness is probably a nice way of saying it. A lot of those guys have played 5 to 10 games. The guys you hadn't really still heard of had still played a few games for the Knights. So they knew where to expose those young kids. So Dykes was exposed quite a bit. On the breakaway, he was made to look silly, but, he was a 3-on-1 where he was always going to get killed. So, again, it's something. He's coming back from an ACL. It's probably his first sort of contact match in a long time. So a lot of rust there. But like Franco said, it's the experience of the Knights. They kind of expose us in areas where, like one of the tries Hastings set up for one of their second rowers just for a little chip over the top because we're up in the line. And
so Matt Rogers-esque.
So, yeah, it was, but the guy who scored the try, he does that in first grade. He's already had a couple of games in first grade. So they knew that play was on. Like you're talking their usual 6 or 13 kick into a second rower that's played with them. So whereas our guys were sort of, there's no cohesion there because we're just sprinkled with, like Franco said, our A, Bs and Cs. So, yeah, it's kind of hard to take out what everyone did until they get into that, maybe a Jets team together and sort of work it out and see how we go.
What about KLRO, Franco? You talked him up last week. He said he was going to shine. He didn't exactly light it up on fire. I think if you go back and watch last week's episode, I did say that Armstrong kid would be good, and he came on. He certainly looked good for them. We did not have one of them at all.
Well, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for, right? Again, it's not a one-man game. You've got a team. There's structure around you. Different plays affect how you can go. Would have liked to have seen him stand up a bit more in defence, maybe, because that is the knock that he gets on from some of the casual observers. So it would have been nice to see him sort of really make a statement in defence. Again, hot conditions, hardly had the ball. It's going to tire you out, and that's not going to help you there.
He certainly wasn't a winner.
He's going to get another chance. So hopefully he stands up there with a bit more experience around him.
See, Fatalikai has been named at centre this week, so I would think that KLRO has not done enough to displace him. I would think, in my view. Would you agree with that?
never was in question in my mind.
Chris, you're smiling at us there. You think he's a chance?
Yeah, look, he's been named, but the other one that people have been calling for is obviously Stone Street, and he hasn't got a gig this week either. So we'll see how Iro goes when he, or Iro, as everyone likes to say correctly these days. See how he goes in displacing Siffer. Siffer was out there for a little bit. Again, a little bit tough for him with teammates. He sort of ran towards the sideline trying to set up Rodwell, and Rodwell.
Oh, that was hilarious, wasn't it?
Didn't take the hint to go back inside and got the ball.
He just ran out.
And he was out. He just stopped and he was out. So, I think Siffer will learn from he's got young kids. He's got to kind of give that little hand signal, or you come back inside, or Siffer's got to step back inside himself. So, yeah, we'll see what this week brings.
I think we should look ahead to this week. I don't think we can really judge the Sharks season ahead by that outing. However, we can't go and book our grand final.
I think the big question, though, just quickly, is I think Colquhoun was pretty impressive. I thought he was really good. And, the question would be that on those bench spots, Jack Williams, while he was solid, he didn't really stand out. And he's the kind of player with the experience he's got, you'd want him to sort of lead the way and show how it's done. And I don't really think he stamped his authority on that game. So it could be, toss up between him and Colquhoun if a spot opens up on the bench.
I thought Kaufusi looked all right early.
Set up a nice try.
In the first minute, he looked really good.
First 5 minutes, he looked great. All right, well, let's move on. Let's just forget about that trial. We established last week that preseason trials are a bit of rubbish. So, but look, I think
if you don't, who cares?
If you win, book the grand final tickets. If you lose, then who cares? And just think about previous years. So, but one thing we did have coming out of the weekend was certainly the All-Stars match. I think the Sharks were certainly winners coming out of that one. And Chris, we'll throw to you. What'd you make of the match?
Yeah, great match as always. I think everyone's got to look forward to this match now because they got rid of that concept that we spoke about with your All-Stars and your Indigenous, and now they've gone to the Maori and the Indigenous. Franco's favourite haka came out again, so we got to watch that at the start of the match, and then our Aboriginal tribal dance as well. So it's never overdone. It's never overdone, is it, Franco? Especially in those kind of situations. So
that's the perfect situation for it. I love it.
Yeah. Again, going back and watching that today, and I love it, is you got to notice that ex-teammates Tavega and Curran from the Warriors sort of met face to face, which is that kind of thing, and then later on really got into a scuffle in the match just over something so minuscule. So watch this space when they play each other later on. Like you mentioned, the Sharks players, Trindle, man of the match. That's back-to-back Sharks halves with Hines last year winning man of the match, and he partnered him again this year in the halves, setting up 3 out of the 4 tries. Like, let's give one to Trindle anyway, even though Jesse Arthur spilled the ball towards the try line and Adokar got his second. The match was a lot better than an NBA All-Stars match. At least there was contact, there was competitiveness. At least they were going at it. Everyone was really involved and passionate about it. I think this concept's here to stay, and everyone enjoyed it. I think Nico's found his little over the bridge, Harbour Bridge style pass that floats but stays backwards. So hopefully he doesn't get called for that this season. That cost us a couple of tries. He set up a nice one in the corner towards the end of the match. And like I mentioned, Trindle, man of the match, he had that little chip over the top. Again, exposing players that don't play in those sort of situations. So I'm sure if he can work on that with our combinations and our speed guys outside, we'll find a few more tries. I thought his kicking game was really strong. Nikora and Royce Hunt on the other side. Obviously, Royce had a big hit up in the match that made the highlights on the NRL page that we shared on our socials. So it looks like he's ready, strong and ready to go and sort of lead from the front. So hopefully that works out well. But yeah, the match was great. Won by the Indigenous, although the Maoris had a lot more ball and possession and field possession than the Indigenous All-Stars came out on top again.
Franco, Nicker is one of your favourites. Give us your view on
Nicker. He was
Nicker.
solid. Looks like he's got another good season ahead of him. Just basically,
Thought he was a bit quiet. He didn't light it up though, did he?
I mean, if you think about his highlights reel, it's normally the line running, and a lot of the little stuff that he does sort of gets ignored by a lot of the commentary team. But he's still doing it. I think he topped the tackle count for the Maoris. He was in everything there. It just wasn't flashy. That's all. But he did well. He hit and stick. He forced errors. He did a really good job.
It's not like he had Hines and Braden Trindle throwing him passes and putting him into holes. The
Exactly.
guys that he wanted him passing the ball were on the other team.
Yeah.
Do we make anything of Nico Hines kicking the goals instead of Braden Trindle? Is Nico the goal kicker for the Sharks next season? Well, this season.
Nico was goal kicker for the Sharks.
I thought Trindle was considered better though.
Well, no, he wasn't. Nico was always considered better, but I guess was it not last season, the season before, Nico had the yips. He wasn't quite kicking as well as he is now. And in the moments when he wasn't kicking and Trindle was on the field, he was nailing those conversions. And so there was that perception that Trindle was a better kicker. I think, whether they're on par or not, I think Nico seems to maybe handle that pressure a little bit better. Not to rub salt in the wound, but we saw what happened in the Roosters match. I don't think there was ever any question moving forward who was going to take the conversions.
Fair enough. All right. Well, you heard it here first. Franco's calling it. Nico will kick every conversion this season. All right. Well, let's move on to the week that was. Anything else on the All-Stars before we bring in our man, Scott Latino?
I think it's worth mentioning that Trindle only got a run because Walker pulled out of the game. So, the fact that he's there was pretty cool. I wouldn't be licking my lips just yet. He had a few bounce of the balls go his way. I know he was a man of the match performance, but there was a bit of luck in some of that. And not to mention, you got the hammer with his speed. We don't have that luxury that guy speeding through will make a lot of kicks look better. But also, mad props to Trindle. He played fantastic. I think he's well-deserved man of the match. But it's interesting to note, as much as people aren't talking about Nico, he had a really good game, really good involvement. He, for those that care, he topped the fantasy league points, a lot of touches and a lot more kicks. So he was heavily involved too. It'll be a good combo for the season.
Sounds good. All right. Well, he's here.
Boys.
Hello, Scott Latino.
Hello, mate.
Legend.
Good, mate. Good. Mate, should I turn my camera off? Because I just noticed we just lost about 10 viewers when you brought me up on the screen.
Oh, goodness. We did too. We lost half of our viewership. Oh, God.
Oh, no, it's all
well,
good,
maybe now they know Franco's not talking for a little bit, they're dipping out. Well, this week in socials, Scott Latino's here to give us the man of the people, give us the rundown. What has the social media been saying about the Sharks this week, mate?
Mate, surprisingly, there's been a bit more around this week than I thought there would be. There's been a lot of love around for Preston Campbell medal winner Braden Trindle after that performance in the All-Stars match. Plenty of I told you so's, a few Matt Moylan who's, and even a few shots at Fitzy in regards to sticking with Moylan for so long last year and denying the bond to form sooner between Braden and Nico. With some fans even saying that if it had have happened earlier in the year, they believe Fitzy would have got the finals monkey off his back in the year just past.
I don't know what you want me to say about that. You know that I disagree.
Mate, I'm just voicing the voice of the people, mate. I'm just
quoting. He's just quoting.
The masses want.
Scott Hansen, what do you reckon? Do you think Moylan was better than Braden Trindle? Anyone? Does anyone in the comments back me up that Moylan was worth keeping?
Mate, Scotty's too busy trying to hang on to Ben Hunt at Cogra there, from what I understand.
They've got him tied up in the mysterious Scott Hansen. All right, keep going.
Mate, speaking of the All-Stars match, there was plenty of mentions of a harder running, more fitter looking Royce Hunt, who I believe can be our standout prop this year. He's obviously been working hard on his fitness in the off-season, and hopefully he can get some longer minutes under his belt and stamp his spot in the forwards there in the starting side. There were some pretty disheartened fans that were quite concerned about our defence, given how we let the Knights steamroll us by 44 points to 12. However, also just as many defending the team, saying it's just a trial match, it means nothing, which goes back to your speech earlier, Boldo. If we had a won, I would have booked my grand final ticket.
Book him now. Let's call Wheeler. Call the guy from Ticket Tech. Get it organised. Let's go, baby.
Mate, Braden Hamlin-Ueli spoke out during the week in regards to his future, where he's still no closer to making a decision around it. I read in an article that he's been offered, I believe, $700,000 a season over 3 seasons to return back to his place of birth to play for the Warriors. Speculated Sharks, it's a lot of money. I don't think we can match it. Sharks are expected to make him an offer, but I don't believe it's going to be anywhere in the vicinity of 700,000 a season over 3 seasons. Mate, there was plenty of relief given Big Tommy Hazelton Wood. Only received a fine for his high shot, because I think on Saturday you had him being sat out for about 3 matches, I believe.
That was you.
That wasn't actually. No, it was Williams. It was Williams. It was Williams.
What would Williams know? Nothing.
So
it was definitely Williams. And the beauty of this is that he's not yet in the show, so he can't even respond.
Jeez, I reckon it's you, Mob, with that debrief video. If he didn't come on, you'd be swimming upstream.
Wow.
Mate, just like last week, I'll get my low blows in when they're in the green room.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mate, this one I thought might spark Franco's interest, be around the juniors. I saw a post during the week by Endeavour Sports High, and from the Harold Matts team that defeated Canberra over the weekend, 12 out of the 18 players listed all went through the Endeavour Sports High system together. It's refreshing to have a nice junior system like that on our doorstep that we can sort of utilise to blood juniors in the future. I'm not saying it's like the Penrith system, but it is a nice little school to have there that does bring a lot of talent through the Shire.
We should ban other teams putting their kids through there.
100%.
Sharky kids only.
Yeah, I like it. 100%. Mate, and finally, it's great to see talented musical artist and lifelong Sharks fan Dylan Wright cruising to the top 12 on Australian Idol this week, who we did give us a little shout out to on Facebook. Everyone make sure you vote for him in the coming voting stages. All the best, Dylan. Bring it home, son. We know you're a listener. And, mate, that rounds out the social.
Well, we do like Dylan. He is a legend, isn't he?
He's awesome. I've followed him for years.
I'm worried for his finals chances, given he's a Shark supporter. So
no, he's going to get to the grand final. He's going to be the favourite, and then it's going to all go to dust.
He'll make the top 4. He'll make the top 4, and that's it. And just go.
Mate, as long as Fitzy's not his singing coach, he'll be right. And that's it for the socials, mate, for the week that was.
How exciting. Chris, you got anything to add to that from around the league?
Oh, I can't believe Lats didn't give a shout out to my favourite player, Jared Wera-Hargraves, announcing that he was leaving the Roosters at the end of the season and off to England. I thought we were going to strike a blow. I'm hoping that it's only a promise, and Fitzy might get in his ear and say, "Mate, you don't want to go over there. You can stay at Cronulla, and you can actually come in and play with us for a little cheaper contract." So of Jared. So hopefully it doesn't head towards England, and it all happens.
We've never had such a long silence on this show. What do you want to say?
You do know you're not on the Roosters podcast at the moment, don't you?
The other interesting fact that came up today was it was the 50-year anniversary for our first ever match in 1967. It fell on the same day that Boldo came here and sat on the couch and watched that epic World Club Challenge match that we probably should have won. But just the fact that the ball wasn't, you can't see the point of the ball, that we never got awarded a try. So quite an interesting fact that fell on each other's anniversary. So yeah,
we will review that match one day and go back and watch that. No. I think we have to.
I kind of left it on that couch. It's there.
Goodness, we were so pumped up, and then we should have gone to that match, to be honest. All right, never mind. All right, that was the week that was in rugby league. All right, well, look, we are going to move on to the history lesson with Matthew. So I guess we better bring Matthew in. So we'll say, see you later, Chris, for a second. And then we'll bring in, look at this. There he is, Matthew Williams. Welcome to the show. Have you got anything to rebut so far from any of our commentary, or are we doing okay?
No, good silence on the Jared Wera-Hargraves talk. Yeah, nothing more to add there. Good job, guys.
All right, perfect. All right, well, Matthew's going to take us through a little history lesson and a historical overview of one of our more favourite Sharks moments. So this is History Lesson with Matthew Williams of the 2015 Knights.
Yes. One thing I will say up until now is I did have a bit of a seniors moment with the technology and accidentally put my presentation up on the screen early, twice actually. So fat fingers there. Sorry, but we'll try and do it again. So
you did do that.
Basically, that was me.
Yeah, and I had to quickly switch it off, and I hope no one noticed.
Yeah. All 12 viewers did. But anyway, so with all this chat about trials, preseason form, what form means, what matters, what doesn't, why not have a look at everyone's favourite form of rugby league, the hidden giggle version of 7s and 9s. So what I'm going to do is going to bring up the presentation now to stage. Sorry, change that back to the previous
You've still got.
What's
you
going
can
on?
see there that you've still got last week's heading there of Sharks finals capitulations as well.
Oh, do I? There you go. Awesome. There we go.
I think we've learned that.
Cue the Benny Hill music.
He's
Don't
the
do stuff
historian.
last
He's not the tech guy.
Exactly.
All right, we'll give you some. We'll
Expect
give you
us to
some
take the
background music. Hold on. We'll go. We'll go this one. All right, there we go. Take us through it.
Righto.
No.
No, we can't hear. I'll just turn the music off. All right, go, Matthew.
Technical issues. How good. So I'll quickly cover off in a bit of Sharks form in nines around 2015. So it started in the glorious year that was 2014. And does anyone remember how we went in that year?
In that year, I'm pretty sure we were about to make it, and then we lost in the last match or something.
Yeah, we made the semi-final.
We went out on 4 against.
Semi-final, and we almost got a try in the first few seconds against Brisbane. I think we dropped it. They went to length of field and scored, and we never got another look in, and we got knocked out in the semi-final. But things were looking promising. A young guy called Valentine Holmes was carving up on the wing, and things were looking good. Then 2014 happened. 2015 I'll talk about in a sec. Do you remember how 2016 went? No worries if you don't. I can go straight.
Oh, no, we were out. We thought we had dreams of winning.
We won the first 2 matches, and then there was a 23-point differential between us and Canberra going into the final round of that group match or group stage, and we lost by 12 points, where an 11-point loss would have put us through to the knockout stage. So it got to the point where I mentioned on the weekend that players didn't even realise they'd been knocked out when they were being interviewed. So anyway, true Shark style, we got knocked out there. The following year, after our glorious premiership in 2016, 2017, we got pumped. And then in 2020, after a bit of a hibernation, all the teams were in groups of 4, but each team only played 2 matches. So you thought the NRL draw was cooked. The Nines draw was just out of this world. It was over in Perth.
That was ridiculous.
It made no sense. We got pumped first game, which basically knocked us out, and there was no point playing a second match, which was a dead rubber against the Bulldogs, which we won. So anyway, that's our quick summary of Nines. But 2015 was a glorious year. I'll just move on to the next slide. Here we go. So the lineup had a bit of a mix of youth and experience. Luke Lewis was the initial captain named, but he was a late withdrawal, replaced by Wade Graham. But you got guys like Valentine Holmes, Fecky, Jared Beale, Jack Bird, yet to make his first grade debut, newly signed from our little brother Illawarra at the time. And he was an unknown. He went into that Nines and everyone was like, oh, he's highly rated in the juniors, but we'll see how he goes. Favourite son, New Brown, after his breakout year in 2014. Kyle Stanley also signed from the Dragons. Some guy called Salala Huma, who replaced Tagatizi, who ended up scoring a try, but didn't do much else in his career with the Sharks. Greats like Pat Politoni, Junior Rakika, and the like. Nathan Gardner was in there too, and I've got a bit of trivia about him. But we'll move forward to the.
Todd Murphy was in the team.
Yes, a Todd Murphy, not the Todd Murphy you know, but he carved.
I love that he didn't change the heading on these slides from last week's 10.
Oh, exactly. It's all the attention, mate. All the attention to detail.
He's just plugging his segment.
That's it.
How
good is it? Yeah.
Anyway, all right, Nines record. Let's go.
No, you just have to listen to or look at my talking head from here in. So we won our 3 group games fairly easily and convincingly, actually. So we beat the Bulldogs 17-4. There was tries there too. Pat Politoni with a bonus try. The old Nines score behind the post, get a bonus try, 4 tackle sets, all that stuff. Convincing there tries, Farmano Brown and Nathan Gardner. Around that time, unfortunately, Farmano Brown did his ACL. I'll talk about that soon. Second game, we pumped the Broncos, which was good, bit of revenge from the previous year. And then we got past the Roosters to top the group. We went through the quarterfinal against the home team, the Warriors, which then saw it basically sold out Eden Park with everyone against us. And the Warriors scored 3 tries in Shark style, but couldn't kick a goal. We scored 2 bonus point tries, kicked both goals, and went through by 2 points. Then we played the Roosters again. Each past them. A huge part of this match or of this series actually was our defence actually in Nines. Obviously difficult to defend, but I suppose it showed the gritty nature of our team that came out of that in 2015 and 2016, that we were able to scramble well and keep the opposition to low scores. Through to the final we go exactly 4 months to the day after Souths had their drought-breaking grand final win. We played them. And does anyone have a stab at a couple of try scorers for the Bunnies that end up being Sharks players or were former Sharks players in that match?
Nathan Merritt?
Not quite. Close.
I reckon Cam scored.
Cam McInnes did score, but the opening try was by Bryson Goodwin, the former Shark that became a Shark once again during COVID. He opened the scoring early on. We had plenty of joy down their right side, so Fecky scored a great 50-metre try to follow up. Interestingly, Nathan Gardner took the kick from the sideline and missed. Nathan Gardner throughout the tournament was our first choice kicker, and Valentine Holmes kind of filled in when Gardner was off the field. Right on half-time, Chris Grievesmiller, I think his name was got a charge down from a Wade Graham kick to put Souths back in front. And then the second half, we were struggling. We're defending a lot. Cam McInnes did score, and Isaac Luke shanked it from next to the post, which left the door open. 6-point difference would have been 8 points. And that's where the moment that, well, actually, shortly after that, we got back into the match with a Valentine Holmes try. And then we got back in with another try late on to Jack Bird in the right corner. And then cue the moment we all know where Valentine Holmes kicked the field goal from the right sideline. Interestingly enough, just prior to that, Valentine Holmes had scored his own try and hit the post from the same position. So I remember watching that live going, oh, that's probably as good as he's going to kick it. And then he kicked it even better and got it. So sent to extra time. Then we defended. I can't remember how many minutes it was, but we basically had
quite a lot. We defended quite a lot, didn't we?
Yeah.
It was a golden try, wasn't it?
It was golden try, and eventually Matt King scored way out wide. What I'm going to move into now, though, like the good and interesting parts of the 2015 part, and I'll talk about more the meaning behind Nines and everyone's thoughts about it in a sec, was Kyle Stanley played a really prominent role as a playmaker throughout that period. He unfortunately did his ACL in the first round for Newtown that year in 2015 and never played NRL again, I don't think. So we'd signed him from the Dragons. He was always going to be a bit of a replacement, but he would have been interesting to see how Jack Bird's career or start with the Sharks went if he was playing 5'8" for the majority of the year. Same too with New Brown also having done his ACL, funnily enough. So we lost 2 potential 5'8s there, resulting in Jack Bird early-ish in the season, round four getting his debut at 5'8". As I said before, Nathan Gardner was first choice kicker and still prominent in the team, didn't play again. And then we had Jack Bird specifically, carving up in Valentine Holmes after only playing 6 first-grade games, really coming to his own. And Blake Ashford, Chris Kelly's favourite, made the team of the tournament with 3 tries, and he just seemed like a player that was made for Nines. He
was a gun in that tournament.
He was. Funnily
enough,
so
good. Did Nathan Gardner ever play first grade again after this tournament? I don't think he did.
No, he didn't. So, and Gardner was still in the periphery there.
Yeah. And why didn't they pick Ben Barber?
That's a good point. I think he was actually. I think from memory, he was getting over an injury for the Broncos. He played for us in 2016.
I think that's right.
And carved up. Everyone was like, "Oh, how good's Barber looking?" So maybe a blessing in disguise that we didn't continue and risk him getting injured in 2016, which could have had a flow-on effect to the season. But Ashford, funnily enough, in the Sporting News worst team in the tournament for 2016 was named in that. So not an official form, but he had a cracking 2015 and a less than impressive 2016 Nines.
What can you tell us about the past winners?
Well, I'll bring it up. And if you can read it, it's pretty small. But just having a look, we talk about, is there any, who wins the Charity Shield? Is there any alignment with preseason form? We talked the other day about Craig Coleman being sacked for South because of trial results, but most coaches go, meh, it's the application. The Nines and the Sevens before that were a bit different at times. If you look in there, Manly obviously were a dominant team in the 90s. They won in 94 and 95. They won the NRL.
The Souths and Balmain were good in 88 and 89. Yeah,
that's it. So kind of correlated with form teams. And even you look recently when the Sevens were reborn in 2003, 2004, Parramatta didn't do anything, obviously, but the Tigers with Razzle Dazzle football and the bones of the team that won the 05 premiership, won the Sevens, in 04. And even still in the Nines, you look at North Queensland winning Nines 2014, then the NRL in 2015, Souths winning NRL. I think they were the only team to hold both at the same time. And you look at even later in the Roosters 2017, I suppose technically because there was no 2018 tournament, they won in 2018 and held both at the same time too by technicality. So there is a bit of a correlation there, but then you've got also some outsiders too with teams like the Roosters in the early 90s that weren't that great. Wigan obviously were touring. Newcastle, they won in, 96 and then went on to 97 with the half comp. So there's a little bit of an alignment there. What I will do, I'll just remove this presentation, is just chat to you guys just for a second about any
memories of the Nines. I actually genuinely miss it, but I've got some theories as to why it died. But I've kind of covered on the importance there, potentially, in that it was a bit of a hit and giggle tournament. It was our version of 2020, but there was an alignment with teams that had potential and did go on to win the 7s or 9s flowing on into the NRL season. So did you guys have any recollections of that?
I loved it. I loved the 9s. I thought it was brilliant. I never went. I know a few friends that did, and they had a great time. But it was just set yourself up from 10 a.m. and watch footy all day, 2 days in a row, especially if your team was playing sort of in the later half of the schedule, so you could build up to your team playing. And then, of course, if you made the finals, you were keen for that as well. It was just brilliant. It was like, yep, turn your phone off, lock the doors, get your case of beer, let's go. Loved it. Really want it back.
Yeah, I went in 03 to it was 03 or 04, one of those ones at the Sydney Four Stadium, the old 7s, and it was awesome. And I think Boldo, we talked about, I think even my Bucks going for the 2017 9s, it didn't quite work, but I think it would have been, Sharks got knocked out early, so it would have been a dud there, but I think the whole concept was a great experience, I think, and fans seem to love it.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that story. So the South Queensland Crushers jersey that I have behind me is actually a story of a guy called Craig Rennie. He and his mates went up to watch the 1995, I think it was, preseason tournament, and they all went in South Queensland Crushers jerseys, and they all bought them 1 through 17, and they had the whole numbers, and they were all geared up, ready to support the South Queensland Crushers, and they were knocked out before they even got to see a match. So they didn't even get to see them. So, look, it was good fun. It was good fun. I just always quite enjoyed. You just got to have a look at a few players. Like you got to have a look at a New Brown, or you got to have a look at a Valentine Holmes, and there's a whole bunch of careers of people that were built for that. I know you want to talk about New Brown a little bit, don't you, Matty?
I will in a sec, but I kind of covered off, like, obviously we all had good memories. Everyone I speak to, that they loved it, but I think it came to the point too where teams didn't want to risk their star players, and looking at the importance, we saw there's a bit of a correlation there. The player form, we saw Valentine Holmes suddenly kicking field goals or conversions without pressure there, went on to score 3 field goals in 2015. 2 of them were important in Golden Point against the Raiders and the Titans. So, that form did flow on, and I don't know if Valentine Holmes would have been a known or noted kicker if it wasn't for that. Probably in-house he may have been, but those things did tend to flow on. Looking at the 9s, though, what ultimately killed them, and same with the 7s, were the injuries. So some examples include in the 2014 season, Lachlan Coote, new signing for the Cowboys, did his ACL and was gone for the whole year. Luke Keary did an injury and didn't play until round 17 of that year. Obviously, Souths went on to win the comp, but he missed a fair chunk of it. Manly lost David Williams for the year, and that was pretty much his career done. And we lost New Brown in 2015 with an ACL injury, which reminded me, we were talking last year, just to you guys, when we were, I suppose, trialing this whole thing. And what I suppose prompted maybe a missed opportunity, or also hats off to New Brown's career, in that the struggles he's been through, and the potential he showed for us, B, the performance he did show at times in 2015. And then again, 2016, he played 4 matches, covering from James Maloney a few times. And then 2017, before moving on, was huge. And in that match against New Zealand versus Australia last year, where he jagged a spot, New Zealand won 30-0. The amount of emotion in him, it seemed like that was his grand final. So I wish him all the best, and I was so happy to see that. And I suppose in researching this, it reminded me of, hey, the poor guy's had so many injury after injury, including I think he had to go through multiple surgeons to finally find someone who would agree to operate on his foot to give him a chance to play back in 2020. He's been through so much hardship, and he's only played a fraction of the NRL games he otherwise would have, but hats off to him. He almost, that's right. Looking at my notes here, he was 27 years old in 2019 when he technically retired. And then he managed to get his foot fixed and went on to play Featherstone, second tier in England, and then come back and play for the Bulldogs, the Tigers, the Knights, and now he's back over in the UK with Hull. So, Franco, I know he's one of your favourites.
Loved him. Watching him and Holmes in the NYC carving up, had big hopes. Really wanted to see him have a full and successful career, hopefully at the Sharks. But, in these sort of scenarios where we're looking back with hindsight, it would have been good just to see him perform anywhere. I think he had a lot of potential. One of those guys, from all reports, wasn't a great trainer, a bit laid back off the field, but on the field, geez, he did well, and that might have hindered him sort of getting a bit more game time at the Sharks, especially under Flano, who we all know love people roll their sleeves up in training. But he was fantastic, really, really good player, silky skills, but just not lucky with injuries.
All right, well, let's move on. The preview: Cronulla Sharks play the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs on Friday at 8 p.m. at Belmore Sports Ground. So we're going to hit trial what to expect. We're going to say thanks to Franco. We're going to bring in our play-by-play analyst, Mr. Kelly. Here he is. We're bringing him back in as we talk about the trial match versus the Bulldogs. Oh, look at the head wobble. There it is. I've actually got one of these things. Hold on.
Is that you, Paul?
I can actually do this, and then I can actually do this. All right, so this is the Sharks starting team versus the Bulldogs.
That's how you do audio visual. That's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how you do it. That's how you do the transitions.
Is this last week's team or?
I was half expecting trial versus Knights, but
yeah.
Yeah, well, all right, Chris, take us through the team. What do we need to know?
Yeah, well, like we said before, we've pretty much put on a full-strength team there. We're obviously missing Ueli, still coming off a little bit of an injury and a bit of a niggle. I'm surprised that Nico and Trindle are going to back up. I didn't touch on before as well, given the NRL's trying to find a bit of oomph to their trials. Like we said trials, you win, you book your grand final tickets, and lose, who cares, it's just a trial. But the NRL is actually putting on some prize money in a couple of point-scoring situations. But given that, again, I don't think a lot of teams are really going into it. Obviously our 4 Vegas teams aren't really putting out, and I had a look at their team list, aren't really trudging out their stars, but we're obviously going for a full strength. No really surprises. It almost feels like a normal team list Tuesday, so nothing sort of stands out. I had a quick look at the Bulldogs
question, should we, Chris?
What was that? I missed that one.
Let's address that question. It came through from Harrison. Thoughts on Talakai coming back into the centres and Iro dropping back to the extended reserves?
Look, it's still his spot to lose, isn't it? Like it's not like Talakai has done anything wrong. He hasn't been, chock full of errors. We talked about in our sort of pre-season chats that he had some of the most try assists for the season, as well as a centre and line break assists. So I don't think he's really going to get unseated yet, unless he does something absolutely shocking. So I don't see him sort of the new guy coming in. I'm sure once the season grind comes on, a few injuries and things like that. Depending on representative seasons and again suspensions, things like that, I don't think we're going to see a mix up to our team. We sort of joke that it's always the same team that comes out. We don't really need to look at the team list, so I don't see him being unseated yet.
Well, when I was typing this list up, I basically just typed up what I thought the team would be and then went and checked it. So
yeah, it's never a shock in there. I don't think I had a quick look. I said I had a quick look at the Dogs team. Interesting enough, how much they paid for Stephen Crichton. He's going to stay in the centres, partnering Addo Carr, and Blake Tapp's going to have the spot at the back. They do have that issue that I brought up, given they've got so many utilities they've brought in. So Tapp's at the back, Drew Hutchinson in the halves, which was surprising. And whether Crichton's going to sort of drop back during that game, I don't know. I thought we'd have a few more players. I know you haven't got the full list there, but we're going out to 25 for this game.
The full list is scrolling across the ticker right now. Number 19 is
interesting. Yeah. Scott Latino Hiroti. Billy Burns is getting a shot. We touched on it before. I thought Dan Atkinson was good, but he's a bit of a Connor Tracy player. So he was playing out in the 6, but he looked a bit better in the centre, so I'd like to see him out there playing a bit more. So
he's not going to get a run over Kade Dykes, Chris. Kade Dykes is clearly the backup player for pretty much the whole back line, I would have thought.
I think I don't see him. He's quite a small in stature kind of guy, kind of like his dad. He's not really that sort of long-rangey fullback that he's going to replace Kennedy. I don't think he's got Kennedy's speed, but we'll see. I'm sure I'd like to see sort of like what the Knights did. Instead of us trudging out this team list, I'd like to see what the Knights did last week, where I spoke on how they filter in a few of their experienced guys, like their halves played the second half where they didn't play the first half. And instead of just ripping off your first 13 and putting on the second 13, I'd like to see a bit of a sprinkle out there, a bit of combinations to see what they can come up with. Whether they do this or the next trial, I'm not too sure, but that's what I'd like to see out of a trial at least.
I want to see Nico Hines and Trindle throwing the ball to Kale Hero. Like, if you want to give him a proper chance in the team.
Yeah, that's where I'd like to see, like, guys come on. It's unlimited interchange. They're the kind of things you should be doing. They're playing in quarters, as we saw with the drink breaks and things like that. I'd like to see, second 20, all right, Katoa, you can come off. Talakai can come off so we can get a Euro out there. Ronnie's played a World Cup game, so he doesn't really be it. And Kennedy's sort of coming back from that longer off-season due to suspension injury. So I'd like to see those guys filtered in to try and see what they can do. You can take out your favourite McGuinness out there and slot some younger guys out the back row and see how it goes.
What's your take on the team and the way the Sharks are shaping up versus the Bulldogs?
Yeah, mate. To be honest, seeing the injuries and judicial charges from last weekend, I was hoping they wouldn't field a strong team at all. I don't know what sort of incentives there are for trials for coaches when given players getting stamped out for the first 4 weeks of the season.
And also, given we lost the last match, it means we can't win the preseason. So
no, it means nothing. Why risk it? I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there needs to be a different system around judicial charges and in trial matches and representative games? Maybe, I don't know, not missing any football, but a much harsher monetary fine or something like that?
It's interesting you mentioned that because they said you can't serve any suspensions during the trials, but obviously you can have any discretion during the trials and miss NRL matches, which I'd argue it's like, well, Hazelton got a $3,000 fine or 2 matches. So similar, who was the guy at Parramatta?
Of course he's going to take the $3,000 fine.
But who was it for Parramatta? And I forgot his name. I don't really care.
Ryan Madison.
Ryan Madison took the 3 matches instead of paying, I think it was a $5,000 fine or whatever. Yeah. Exactly.
It cost them the start of the season as well. They started
the start of last season. It was from
I'm sure that's not the reason. It's just one guy.
Well, it is great. Basically, it leaves the door open, though. He made a point. It's probably not a team first mentality, but the monetary values, they're pretty notional. I mean, I suppose if you're on minimum wage as an NRL player, it's a different story. But for most players, it's not any kind of disincentive. If you look at the JWH, for example, he rips a guy's head off. I'm sure he copped fines, but you know what I mean. Like if they
stop talking about Jared Graves on this team.
We love talking about it.
We thought we were losing Chris, so we thought we'd better mention a Roosters player.
When we're talking about guys who were talking about suspensions or otherwise, ripping guys' heads off, he's the first one that came to mind. So, but yeah, I think on that, so that you're right, Lats. It's a huge risk. I think it's worth it. The players do need some time on their feet, some match fitness. I think you'll see though that first team, there may be late changes on the day, or they may roll out really only play the first 15 or 20 and then have bulk changes.
I'll play the first 20 minutes. Yep. They called out in the commentary that Fitzgibbon had made a deal with with Adam O'Brien, the Knights coach, in terms of who they played. So Fitzgibbon will make the same. Chris Kelly has a Roosters jersey under that jumper. He has enough merch. Is there anything else we need to think about the Bulldogs as we go into this match, or is it just Sharks 50-0?
I think more eyes will be on the Dogs, their kind of new combinations, their expenditure, like I mentioned, with your Crichtons and seeing how he partners with Addo Carr. They're well noted in the media how much they've been spending on their cap. They've also been dragged through the media in the last couple of weeks about 2 years ago. Their team's pretty much ripped apart, which needed to happen anyway. Again, like we all said, I don't want to see those Indigenous guys played a pretty tough, rugged match pretty much the whole game, if not the whole 80 minutes in, hot, humid, rainy conditions. I don't see them playing more than 20 to 30 minutes. So you'd be wrapping them in cotton wool. The point on the suspensions, I'd like to see something overhaul, but that's a Pandora's box for the judiciary. We're going to go through the whole season talking about consistency and things like that. I wouldn't want to see players use their NRL suspension for trials, but we've seen where the loopholes get used in international matches and things like that. But I'd like to see a bit
Queensland
more
trick where they name TBA,
TBH, and all those kind of things. Yeah, I don't think as Hazelwood's wasn't that bad, but there were a couple of crusher tackles over the weekend that were pretty bad. There was a hair pull that got mentioned throughout the media. which always starts up the old school fans that, well, you shouldn't have it. If not, it just gets pulled. So I'd like to see some sort of system come in there, because it's why would we trudge out players when they can get injured or suspended just at the start of the season? So, like I said,
you have to have the suspensions and the penalties, Chris. Otherwise, they'll just all go out and belt each other.
I don't think there'll be a free for all. Like, the trials will just get the rust off and get a bit of contact. It's just opposing sessions. Otherwise, that's what they'll go back to. They'll go back to closed doors, have opposing sessions, and who cares about having trial matches? Like I said, you're not going to see Adam Reynolds played, I think, 30 minutes the other night, and he's not going to play obviously this week. So all those Vegas teams aren't trudging out any of their guys. Like,
I wouldn't.
For my other team, the Roosters, Dylan Napper's getting the start, and there's pretty much a team of no names. So
we'll see
how it goes. Yeah, he's back with the Roosters.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next segment now. I don't know if we should listen. Well, Scott Hansen, what have you got? Lots of expectation building on Dogs and Knights, which could come back at them. When they deal with the Dragons will determine their seasons. Well, that's right. Because let's just bring that comment back up. Let's just bring that up. Yes, because the Dogs and the Knights will be 15th and 17th respectively, and they'll be playing around with the Dragons, who'll be 16th. So, yeah, you're right, Scott Hansen. They will be down the bottom of the table. All right, as we move on to the next thing. All right, Matthew, can you please pull out your crystal ball? So here on the ET stand, all five of us are going to make our predictions for the season. And our dear friend Matthew gets to go first. So I'm going to try and fix this up. Here we go. Let's see if I can get... Oh, look at that. I even got that to work.
Giddy up.
Here we go.
Giddy up. All right, Matthew, what's going to happen? Season 2024.
Set the timer, go now. So this is the first year that we are taking the field without a single player from that glorious 2016 season, with the retirement of the great Wade Graham. So I think it's a change of the guard, change of time, change of era. So I'll give you a quick summary of how we're going to go through rounds 1 to 9, 9 to 18, and 18 to 27. I think we'll lose to the Warriors, because since when do we decide to win first round matches? I don't think this year will be any different. I don't think that's props to the Warriors. It's just how it is. South, and I think we'll lose the Raiders at least once we play them twice in a short period of time. Rounds 9 to 18, we do have a tough run of Storm away, Roosters in Magic Round, Panthers home, Eels away, and Broncos away. I think we will potentially lose 4 of those. That's no disservice to us. I think we'll actually take to them. It wouldn't surprise me if we actually beat the Panthers at home, for example. I think we're going to be a different team this year, but also
so
I think that we are going to take it to the
Panthers.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It'll be one of those periods like beating Souths last year, unexpectedly. I think let's say we lose to Storm and Roosters back to back. Everyone's against us. We come out at home against the Panthers and we actually win. I think that may happen, but we may well drop games to the Eels and Broncos. So I'm counting 4 losses in that period there. And then rounds 18 to 27, it's an exceptionally easy draw based on previous years. That means nothing. But if we're flat track bullies like we say we are, and the rest of the world says we are, I think we're going to potentially win all of them. I actually genuinely think we'll probably lose the Cowboys away. And then we finish off our round 27 match at Brookvale against Manly. And I think it'll be a game to win, to make the top 4. And I think that we may well win it and may miss out on for and against, for example. There's such a gulf of class between the top 8 and the bottom 9. I think may be a case, based on my stats or based on my analysis, that we'll get 38 points and finish 5th. And then we play Manly in first week of the finals. And read into that what you will. I don't know if it'll be at Shark Park or Allianz or somewhere else, but I think...
So we're going to have that same damn chat again about where the Sharks should host a finals match.
The question of where we host...
trying to buy tickets.
And Fitzgibbon will again say we're going to host it at Shark Park, and we will again lose.
Yes.
Surely we have a Leagues Club by then, though.
Well, no, that's further down.
What's your prediction on the Leagues Club, Matty?
Stand by. Whole questions to the end, please. So I think that we'll play Manly first week of the finals, and there'll be so much talk around, hey, we never beat Manly, we never beat them in a finals match. We haven't won a finals match under any Fitzgibbon. Is it being played at Shark Park? Is it being played at Allianz? Did people get tickets? It just sounds like Groundhog Day all over again, and who can predict how that's going to go? Anyway, moving on. So who will make the step up this year? I think Kale Iro about mid-season will finally make the step up, not through him banging the door down. I think it'll be a case of an injury, unfortunately, or an absence of either Ramian or Talakai. I think Talakai is incumbent. Naming that team there, Fitz has shown his hand. I think Talakai does give us a lot a lot of yardage out of our end. Unfortunately, that final, that lack of speed did cost us, but he's also got glorious delivery to Ronaldo, and a lot of Ronaldo's tries are to thank, or you can thank Talakai for. So it's a difficult decision to make. I'd love to see Iro there and Talakai coming off the bench in the middle, but I don't think Fitz is going to make that change. Dykes will cover admirably for Kennedy. I hope Kennedy doesn't miss too much football, but I think Dykes will more than do a job there. But I think he'll basically have another 2022 style season where he's waiting in the wings, lots of 18th man, lots of number 17 coming off the bench for short stints. And I think Jesse Colquhoun will step up and play plenty of minutes from the bench and actually look good. I thought he looked good the other day, and I thought he looked good in time periods last year too. Hines watch, what will happen to Nico? He'll back to be a more consistent 2022 style of Nico Hines, in that he doesn't have the calf injuries, touch wood, that plagued him last year. Hopefully his mother and everything to do there is less of a distraction. And I think he'll play all 3 Origin matches for Michael Maguire off the bench. Surprise packets, Oregon Kafusi and Braden Trindle will both be very handy. I think Trindle has already shown it on the weekend and the back end of last year, what he can contribute in taking the load off Nico. And Oregon Kafusi, I think, had a hugely disrupted offseason last year, which affected all his form last year. He played through the grand final, then the World Cup, and then wouldn't have started training until very late December, early January, which affected that. I think he's going to be a lot fresher, and he showed a bit of form on the weekend. I think he'll be a good bench player. Improved, I think Ronaldo will find some 2022 form. Last year, he, not to say lost his head a bit, but there were some tries that he first ran against Souths, later against the Bulldogs, that were uncharacteristic and aren't acceptable, really, and Fitz would have set him straight there. The bolter, not exactly a bolter, but Sam Stonestreet will cover 4 to 5 games on the wing for any injuries. I hope they don't happen, but that he'll step up there. Again, I think he'll take his opportunity when he gets it, but I don't think he'll lock in a place because Ronaldo and Katoa are so good. Form dip, I hope I'm wrong, but Dale Finucane will continue sliding off into the sunset. We lost Kelly there for a second. He's back.
We're ready. Franco was ready to come off the bench then. I think we're going to bring Franco off the bench here in a second just to respond to this. I could see him champing at the bit to get involved in this. We're just letting you go with this season prediction.
I'm not
involved in the comments.
Say.
Is Williams dreaming, or is he actually right? This is what will happen.
I'm not Einstein or out of line in saying that Finucane's best days are past him, and I wish I'm wrong, but I think that he will continue to slide off into being the Andrew Feeder, Aidan Tolman, Wade Graham style player this year. He's got 2 years to run his contract. I think he'll be playing a lot from the bench, and I hope Cam McInnes makes a step up there. I think Rudolph and Hamlin Willie, I hope I'm wrong here, but Rudolph is still struggling with his toe, has not been able to do a proper preseason. He's been in the recovery squad the entire time, and Hamlin Willie's body just continually seems to break down. Both are great when they're in form on the field, but I just think it's going to be difficult. I think both are going to spend a fair bit of time off the field, which would be frustrating for all, and I hope I'm wrong there. Porter-Gallen medalist, I think it's going to be a 3-way shootout, barring injury, touch wood, between Kennedy, Nickera, and McInnes, and I think Nickera will take it. I think he's primed for a good season. Finals, as I said, finish 5th. Play Manly first week, see what happens from there.
We win week 1?
Yes.
Do we win week 2?
No.
Who do we lose to in week 2?
How can I possibly tell from here, Bono? I think no. I think we win 1 and then we get knocked out.
The crystal ball.
Hazelton slash
crystal ball. You meant to tell us what's happening.
Crystal ball.
We win. Chris has already got it in his multi.
We win week 1. We'll lose to it. Hazelwood, number of tries, he'll get 3 again. They'll be the.
He's getting more than that. I reckon he gets 8. But all right.
Whoa, okay, and
I'll predict that when I do mine.
I think Hazelwood, I think I've got him in my starting off the bench in my 17, but I'm not sure, given that we do have, as Lats alluded to the other day, a bit of a logjam in the forward pack, but we don't have an X factor. I think he's an X factor, but he also doesn't play huge minutes. So you watch his space there. Leagues Club, I think progress will start this year, but it won't open until mid to late 2025. Ooh. Questions?
Lats, give us a response to Williams's predictions there. Something.
Mate, I thought they're quite achievable. Surely Tom Hazelton has 3 tries in that first game, though. Did you see how slick he looked against Newcastle down that right edge? He was brilliant.
Soft hands down the right.
I didn't even know he had those moves. Surely we've got a Leagues Club before 2025.
I don't know.
Surely.
I don't have an update for us, but do we have a developer? Do we have money? Is anything happening?
I don't even actually know if we've got anyone in the shop front down at Cronulla yet, do we? I saw the full lease sign down there, so who knows?
Yeah,
my thoughts on the. Don't steal my take. I've got a good take for us on the shop front down in Cronulla Street. 2 weeks' time, I'm going to tell you why the Cronulla Street purchase is the greatest ever strategic masterstroke of any CEO of the Sharks ever.
Are they putting the noodle shop back
over the development? Back on topic, David.
Yes. Chris,
yeah, mate.
We'll bring Franco in so he can also respond to you.
Hang on.
Chris is gone.
Let's still go.
Williams' stuff.
Let me tell you all about the Cronulla Street shopfront, okay? I've got a great story for you.
Press mute.
Oh, goodness. All right.
Send him back to the green room.
Franco, have you got any commentary on Williams'
We just lost 7 viewers.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're going to the silly hour.
Yeah, I mean, looks good, Williams. Looks good, buddy. There's a few tweaks and suggestions, I think, there. I don't know about winning week 1. We never win week 1. That's just not a thing the Sharks do. So let's cross that one out as well. Sam Stone Street, if a winger goes down, he probably is going to get call up. I think they made that mistake last time by putting Iro on the wing. They won't do that again.
Hiroti, what about Hiroti? Hiroti, he seems to be their go-to guy to pull into the team.
Yeah,
he played well against South.
Last year against South, really did well. So, no, you're probably right there, mate. I'm glad you're a good fan. You've picked him to come back, and I support you. So, nice. So, won't get a go.
Next week, I think we're going to do Lats and Kelly are going to give their predictions. I'm not sure if we should do that in the same week. That might be a little risky.
Where's my quick little hit back?
Chris, hit back. What did you think? Sorry, Frank. Yeah, I brought Frank into
my crystal ball is a bit more rose gold, and I think we'll make the top 4 quite easily because we've got the soft draw and Phil Gould have rubbish us all season. Just a quick little one on that. No, we're not winning week 1. I think Hazleton grabs a double in a home match at some point with us sitting behind him and us screaming out. And possibly might even be the match where we all wear headbands. I don't need to shave my hair where you guys might have to, but it might be that match where he actually grabs a quick double. He went close last year, so I think he can do it. I think that, and I know Lat's touched on the preseason, but we haven't put those episodes up. I think AFB might force his way out of the Warriors mid-season. We might pick him up mid-season. There's probably a good chance. And I think even if we see a significant injury in our halves, we may even try and look for an SOS player in that space as well, because I don't really see us at the point yet of replacing Trindle or Hines if they went down.
Don't give away all of your prediction that we are going to do next week.
No, that's just my quick little little hits. Mm-hmm. That's it.
All right, fair enough. All right, well, that was Williams's prediction. Each of us is going to get our own set of predictions and a segment next week. So I guess we got a few spoilers out of there. Tom Hazelwood is definitely going to score more than 3 tries. All right, let's move on to the final segment of the show. And all 5 of us are in for this segment. I'll kill the banner. And we're going to do a quick little trivia. So for those people who have watched this entire 1 hour and 8 minutes of this damn show.
There's no way.
You will have, I'm not sure if anyone's done that. You will have heard 5. You will have heard 5 classic Sharks commentary matches. So we're not going to make Williams put his title on the line, but I'm very confident that Williams can name all 5. And so, Williams, have you got your little whiteboard and pen thing?
I feel like Mr. Squiggle.
So the first commentary that we have that goes
Is that a Magnadoodle?
It is. I don't quite actually.
All right, so the first commentary, you should be able to get this one, is Sharks fans are kicking Maloney home after he takes an intercept. What year was that, Matthew, and what match was that?
I'm writing this down, aren't I?
Yeah, write it down. Do we think he's going to get that?
We're supposed to write this down.
Well, you guys don't have to write it down. You can just tell me if he thinks he knows. Oh, yeah, actually, if you all got things to write it down?
When are we revealing?
Yeah, Franco, is he going to know this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, of course he is.
Recent history.
2016 prelims versus the Cowboys. That is correct. All right, so he's 1 from 1. All right, okay, next one. All right, so the next one is Mitch Healy's departure day when Mitch Healy scores is in the countdown commentary timer. Well, I know you're going to know. Yeah, it is Paris' Parramatta in 2000. What was the score?
That'd be 34-18. I covered it last week. I touched on it last week. Recent history.
He's good, isn't he? No wonder you're on the damn hard quiz.
Three
All
recent
right.
questions in
It's
here.
Stephen
or-
Hawkins.
All right. The next one, Peachy and Campbell connect, and they pass the ball to Nick Graham for a try. What year was that, and what match?
Is anyone else? Do I need this, or do I just?
Does anyone else? Does everyone reckon Williams knows this?
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I know it. I think Lats was at my house listening on the radio.
What do you reckon? What match was it, Chris?
Bulldogs.
Got it right. 0-1 Bulldogs.
It was 0-1 Bulldogs.
We nearly got run over running across bloody Boney Bay Road.
We kept running out, waving the flag every time they scored a try. We run back inside, they'd scored another, but they'd run back outside again. In the days where, for some reason, Channel 9 played the game 2 hours later on the TV.
The game.
They did used to do that.
Went to air.
Bizarre.
Yeah.
So the game was at 2. They telecasted at 4.
I'll be talking that one about that one in. I'll be talking that one in round 2 ahead of our match against the Bulldogs. It's one of my favourite matches.
It's a cracker.
So good.
Cracker match.
All right, Ennis to Pryor. When was that? Oh, we all know when that one was.
Yeah. Go on.
I was there with you, David.
You were there with me. That's just true. We did drive down, and I never doubted that we would win that match either. That was the quarterfinal versus Canberra. All right, next one and the last question. Look, we obviously know when the grand final commentary was. So, what match and what year did Paul Gallen kick the field goal?
Easy.
We'll put last round.
And which field?
I've got to spell it.
We know that's the field where I've got the damn thing on the Channel 9 coverage being a bullfit.
That's coming. That's coming in the promos.
2 H's in Leichhardt, isn't there? But anyway.
That's right. That's the Tiger. Yeah, all right. That was all right. So there we go. Mr. Hard Quiz was 5 from 5. Congratulations, Matthew. You've proven your worth. We will make you put the trivia title on the line. Should we do that before he does the hard quiz or afterwards?
Before. We'll test him out before.
Yeah, we'll test him out before. All right. The title, the ET Stand trivia title will go on the line. And I hope you are playing along, people at home in the comments or watching along. Anything else, boys, before we sign off and say adios?
I think we need whiteboards now get ready for trivia.
Just one thing, the yellow spot on the shorts.
Oh, yes.
Lay Biscuit Company, which is PNG's premium biscuit company.
What are they called?
Lay
Biscuits.
Is that a hint, Franco, who's coming into the NRL next time? Or?
Lay Biscuits. All right. So on the next episode, we're going to eat some Lay Biscuits because they're supporters of the Sharks.
Are we
all right?
Well,
all right. Do I have to? Good job. Oh, Casey. There we go.
Thanks, Casey.
Thanks,
Casey. I don't see a Nick Hansen commenting, Chris.
Oh, we got Scott Hansen. That was even better.
We did get Scott.
All
right, that was the ET Stand. Thank you, everyone, for coming along and watching our crazy show. We always have fun bringing it to you. Please hit the like and subscribe button as I go and find the closing video. We will see you for a debrief post, the full time of the Sharks versus the Bulldogs match. One of us, 2 of us, 3 of us will be on that one. So we'll see. We look forward to reporting on another momentous Sharks victory. And until then, up the Sharks.
For over 50 years, people have come to see the Sharks play. Talent, skill, speed, intelligence, elite level athleticism. That's not these guys. Biased, one-eyed, opinionated, more often wrong than right. They make up for their complete lack of talent with pure dribble, gibberish, and enthusiasm. This is the ET Stand Podcast.